What you have just heard, listeners all over the world, is a warning. And you will hear this warning from here on out. You've been listening to your leaders tell you that there's a great move toward democracy in the world. You witnessed the parting of the Iron Curtain, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the fracturing of the Soviet Union. And this is all supposedly toward a new worldwide democracy. Democracy is a code word for socialism, and that's why our forefathers established a republic. But don't get down, folks. All is not lost. The problem lies within each and every one of you, and therein also lies the answer. I'm your host, William Cooper, and you're listening to the Hour of the Time.
I'm coming back.
Crazy! And that's how it goes. You never ever know about the NWO. Deep behind enemy lines for October 19th, 2020. Today's top headlines: Hunter Biden's laptop has illuminated the power of the world's tech giants. Yes, sirree, bobcat tail. More earth changes and geopolitical upheaval. And another update to the New World Order from the No Link News Desk. Move over, harp-tards. You'll not see this earthquake news or earthquake prediction from Doomsday Dutchie's magic 3D earthquake crystal ball first. So in case you miss it, or you want to wait around for sloppy seconds from Doomsday Disinfo Dumbass Dutchie, let's get to the science of things today. Let's see here. Wait a minute. Yeah. All right. I'm going to try to do the graphics changes on this studio while I bring you up to speed. If you haven't heard yet today, breaking all, Trump has got the laptop from hell on his, and they got the hard drive from Hunter Biden. Yeah, from what I'm hearing, there are 3 hard drives now unfolding in the mix in the news today. So I'm going to rip through and give you the news on this hardcore breaking story. That we do now know that the hard drive issue, hard drive gate, Biden gate, Hunter Biden laptop contains alleged sexual abuse of underage Chinese girls. Video used as blackmail by the Chi-coms, according to Chinese dissident report. In a recently uncovered shocking video, which is circulated online for several weeks. Yeah, we'll bring you up to speed to that in just a moment. Let's see here. Will this bring it in? No, I'm going to have to drop that down, aren't I? Yeah. Okay, we'll bring that up here in just a second. The Irishman. Well, we could go back putting that up there. Yeah, finish out the story. So anyways, a video is part of a Chinese whistleblower network, and the show is called Lude's Broadcast, and many editions of the reports exist. On September 24th, about 3 hard drives, which the Communist Party turned over to the Department of Justice and Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, we'd have a hard drive that was found, left at a computer repair shop, but this is even more mind-boggling. How, according to in the video, Jiang Zemin and Zeng Qinghong and Meng Jianzhu made the move to provide 3 hard drives to the Department of Justice of America and another copy to Nancy Pelosi. The first hard drive, sex tapes and pedophilia tapes of Hunter Biden, as well as his $4.5 billion secret deal with President Xi Wang. Now, the second hard drive, the allocation of Xi and Wang's overseas wealth, and the architecture and art project, which is the information of their illegitimate children. And now, finally, the third hard drive is proof of the communist Chi-com's biological weapon. The report believes that there is some kind of internal friction within the Chinese Communist Party, which led to the hard drives being handed over. The video mainly talks about the first hard drive turned over to the U.S. by Communist Chinese Party officials. He goes into detail about a deal Hunter Biden made of around $4.5 billion. This corroborates a story with the Washington Times, which reported that Hunter Biden was receiving $10 million annual fee from a Chinese billionaire who has been accused of corruption and with whom he sought to increase the cash flow with joint business ownership. An August 2017 email from Mr. Biden shows, and this is actually mentioned in the Lude's broadcast before the Washington Times article. The Washington Times reported the money was for introductions alone, said Mr. Biden, son of Democratic presidential nominee Joseph R. Biden. Another email to Hunter Biden from the consultant says that a 10% stake in an unnamed company will go to the big guy. The big guy was not identified. Hunter Biden hooked up with the billionaire Jiang Zemin, chairman of the CEFC China Energy Company conglomerate during his father's vice presidency. Zemin is mentioned in the Chinese dissident report. The video is at the end of this article. This article is published at the jewishvoice.com. And the most shocking revelations from this uncovered Chinese report come at about 2.5 minutes into the video, when the reporter describes videos featuring underage Chinese girls and Hunter Biden. At the 3-minute 19 mark, Lude is actually using Chinese words that describe sexual abuse depicted in Hunter Biden's videos. And according to blogger Mike Adams, a controversial web outlet, Natural News, a few seconds later at the 3:32 mark, Lude describes the sex acts as an extreme abuse of children. If a correct English translation were to be quoted, This implies violence and rape, and it confirms that the victims of the Hunter Biden sex acts were non-consenting. The video is a little confusing, but generally sticks to the first hard drive, which has alleged illicit video and details of the deal made between Hunter Biden and Xi Wang. It is said in Lude's report that the videos were turned over as a message to American officials that the Chinese Communist Party has the goods on Hunter Biden and is essentially a blackmail operation. The reporter in the video implies that the Chinese Communist Party is counting on Joe Biden's presidency because Joe Biden is allegedly highly compromised because of the illegal activities Hunter Biden participated in, mainly the alleged abuse of underage Chinese teenagers allegedly contained in this hard drive. And if more interestingly enough, if this isn't enough proof, the President of the United States has now made it clear that this is the hard drive from hell, and the video is unrefutable. So, most interesting, the video from this Chinese dissident came almost 3 weeks before a highly covered New York Post article about the Hunter Biden laptop left at a Delaware computer store, which also, according to the Post, contained explicit photos and now famous emails between Hunter and Burisma oil executive Vadim Pazarsky. The question remains, is the first hard drive mentioned in this Chinese dissident's video the same one from the Delaware computer shop? Lude also mentions emails detaining business meetings with Ukrainian and Kazakhstan energy companies, much like the New York Post expose. Another interesting point, Rudy Giuliani has put forward the extraordinary claim that the Chinese government has obtained explosive, non-public emails from Hunter Biden's laptop, which he says contains illegal information which he helped push out and tried to get authorities to probe. Reported by the Daily Mail reported, Giuliani said, I have to tell you, and this is very sensitive, the stuff that we're in possession of contains 1,000, maybe more photographs that are highly anywhere from inappropriate to illegal and have to be possessed by the Chinese government. Giuliani told former White House Chief Strategist Steve Bannon for his War Room Pandemic podcast. So Giuliani had some information also regarding the Chinese government having possession of Hunter Biden's hard drive. And there are layers of intrigue behind this story, which is indeed making the impact on the 2020 election. There's so many pieces, and how deep this rabbit hole goes to this puzzle, and so much information which still has to be verified as the story develops. But I'm Never Know, Patriot Broadcasting and Liberty Tree Radio field reporter number 8,510. And as always, God bless the Republic. Death to the New World Order. We are on the march. The Empire is on a run. We shall prevail.
US presidential race, especially given I'll be over there next week. We'll be bringing you lots of stuff over the next fortnight from the US. Really looking forward to that. And the big story, though, today has been how the digital giants, follow on from last week, how the digital giants, Twitter and Facebook and the like, have been censoring stories that are critical of Joe Biden, especially over his son Hunter profiting from Biden's time as vice president. Donald Trump spoke at a rally in Nevada today, and he hit out.
But on election day, you can send a message to the fake news media right there, to the big tech companies, and to the Washington swamp. We never knew it could be this deep.
This is going to be the strongest theme for the president over the next couple of weeks. He was elected, of course, to drain the swamp, he said, and he'll ask voters to make sure they don't let the swamp grab back the spoils. That argument will fire up his base, no doubt about that, but there are big question marks over whether it'll win over swinging or undecided voters. Let's follow up these issues with Kosha Garda, who's Managing Director of tech advisory firm Recastle. Good to talk to you again, Kosha. What will the tech firms feel about these strident attacks back at them directly from the US president?
Good to be with you, Chris. So, look, I think it's a huge story. I think it's a bit of a political football, and definitely it's going to be part of the campaign trail for these remaining 16 days, which elevates it. But the issue really is very significant, and I think extends far beyond the Trump presidency and far beyond election 2020. It's really, as we've talked about before, just this, for the first time in history, we have this set of 4 or 5 companies that in the span of 20 years are now a collective net worth of $5 trillion in market cap, which makes them the most powerful companies and the richest companies, most influential companies ever created in history. And I think here what's happened with this latest story with Hunter Biden's laptop is it just really illuminated the power of that, and is bringing to the forefront this issue of Section 230, which just your viewers understand. It's basically a statute that was passed in 1996 as a way to protect the growth of the internet in its infancy. But these companies have become so big that they sort of now have maybe outgrown those protections. And if that were to be lifted, that's a big if, a lot of things have to happen, they would be opened up to all sorts of lawsuits, basically for censoring or blocking stories such as the Biden one. Yeah,
there's some critical issues here. One that Australia is trying to lead the world on, and that is forcing these tech giants to pay mainstream news organisations, commercial news organisations like this one, for some of the content they circulate. But the other way to deal with that is to delineate or ensure that they are treated as publishers. And in this case, where they have decided to censor stories, they have decided they don't like these stories or they think they're wrong and they won't allow them to be published on their platform, then surely they should carry all of the responsibilities and vulnerabilities of being publishers.
That's exactly right. And so these protections that were bestowed on them, back in 1996, Google didn't exist. Mark Zuckerberg was, I think, 11 years old. So we've come a long way since then, and they've kind of outgrown what the intent was with it. And you're seeing a little bit of foreshadowing where this issue seems to have really united all 3 branches of government, again, brought to the forefront because of this week's breaking news, where Justice Clarence Thomas sort of signaled in a reading last week that a case was brought in front of the Supreme Court around this. It wasn't the right case, so they're not going to hear it. But he sort of signaled if the right case comes in, then the way the statute has been interpreted is not the most natural reading of the law, and there's scope there to push back and treat them as publishers, as opposed to giving them these full immunity protections that they have right now.
Well, what happens, though, after the election out of this? Obviously, most of the mainstream media, like in this country, is left-of-centre orientated. There's some right-wing media and Fox News and some other newspapers. But then if you have the tech giants, Twitter and Facebook, are obviously editing and censoring from a left-of-centre disposition. Trump's behind anyway. If Biden ends up winning, do these tech giants just continue through unimpeded?
I would say if you look at sort of who their preference would be from donation flow from the news this week, I think they are probably in favor of that outcome. But there's so many variables at play if the Republicans still held the Senate, or even the Congress potentially, even if the White House went to Biden, then there's something that they could do in the judiciary. Or separately, going back to the Clarence Thomas point, if somebody were to bring a case, and the right case, even the way the statute is written right now, there is possibly room that it could go up to the Supreme Court and be reinterpreted or in a more narrow fashion. But for sure, if Trump loses the presidency, I think that would halt, what has been accelerated in this past week on this topic.
Well, it is a fascinating and far-reaching policy issue that will live on beyond this election, and we'll pop this little discussion up on social media if they'll allow it, so people can respond and share their views. Thanks for joining us, Kosha.
好的，今天啊，咱们这个标题啊，为什么说啊江增孟加出手将彻底结束中共啊？这个逻辑怎么来的？我告诉大家啊，首先这个前天还是哪一天啊？我们先直播说了一个很重要的事情啊，大家可能有的人在考虑。今天早上我们直播时就问了这个啊，今天早上安红还有这个莫博士还有赵博士。说郭先生说啊，这个大选将以滑稽啊方式结束，是吧？然后前几天说啊，这个中共某一派某家出手了，伯伯是记得郭先生说过这话吧？是吧？
对，记得，
对，出手了。然后郭先生说啊，将以滑稽结束，还透露说什么黄色的，是不是视频？郭先生直接说了黄色视频啊。很多人就在问到底怎么回事啊？那我今天啊就透露那么一丁点啊东西给大家。之前我们说过91号文件、94号文件，伯伯是艾丽女士记得吧？是吧？
对，记得。
91号、94号文件，我们之前说过91号是谁手上有？94号谁手上？其中一个是文字版的，一个是视频版的。是吧？文字版的就材料嘛，视频版的就是硬盘嘛，所以我们这里说是硬盘啊。告诉大家啊，据细据可靠的，过几天大家会在啊外媒啊都会一个个见到。说江增孟啊，江大家知道是增，知道是谁？孟出手了，有3份重要的硬盘。已经到了司法部手上，本来是他们给司法部的，但是被司法部里面的啊这个拜登这一派给按下来了。但是鬼使神差啊，咱们爆料革命的战友啊，具体谁咱们就不说了，大家也司法部大家知道啊，然后把这个终于到了川普总统手上。很多人说这到底什么东西啊？说出来肯定让大家震惊啊，绝对震惊。大家收好心脏啊，把心脏先吃点啥这个心脏病的药啊，准备好。拜登之子亨特·拜登啊，这个东西啊，回头都可以验证的。咱们说的都是叫做站在今天啊说未来啊，今天说未来的这个说未来，站在未来说历史啊。亨特·拜登的哪些东西啊？黄色视频啊，这个虐童视频，一家一家的啊，这个亨特·拜登的这个就是黄色的啊，极其黄的啊，可以说是啊，虐童的，极其让人看到完全就把中国人不当人的这个啊，这是谁拍的？中共拍的啊。仅是视频吗？仅是黄色吗？是不是？不止，大家告诉大家啊，拜登跟习王，就拜登之子啊，我说现在这所有的拜登都是拜登之子签的一个秘密协议，里面预付款就签协议就给了100万啊，就小费，后面给了1000万。牵涉45亿美元，45亿美元啊，45亿美元的利益，就是亨特·拜登啊，这里面真的是要救心丸啊！我觉得我说到这时候，我得稳定一下。这个据说啊，这个3个硬盘啊，一个硬盘啊，刚才说的是拜登的。这个黄色的视频，钱啊，协议这个啊，还有双修，就像陈峰一样啊，里面还涉及到就是哈萨克斯坦 这个拜登我说的是他儿子啊，亨特拜登，乌克兰的天然气啊的相应的协议，这是一个。第二个呢，一个硬盘是习王他们在海外的钱以及相应的资料啊，第二个硬盘。这两个硬盘啊，第一个硬盘将曾孟家出手，直接把它先交到司法部啊，给美国司法部，并且还有一份据说啊给到了佩洛西，据说给到佩洛西啊。很多人说为什么给佩洛西？他们给佩洛西本来意图是，意思就是说啊，我们有你们，就是因为拜登嘛，是上次啊在民主党的大会里头，整个民主党也要开始灭共了，大家口气很强硬了啊，然后他们着急了，就是我们一直支持你，就说白了，之前已经跟你签了一个东西，是吧？然后呢，这边意思就是说啊，你看你别以为我们没你的东西啊，把东西给你，意思就是让你们别忘了，就后面我有你的罪证啊，你必须得赢大选，必须得赢，这是第一，不管用什么手段都要赢这个大选，否则的话啊，第二就是赢了以后你还得听中共的，但是到司法部这里啊，亲拜登的就把他按下来了，但是啊，据说啊，咱们爆料革命的某位战友把他弄到了，这个是江增习江增孟一箭双雕，一箭双雕啊！我告诉大家，就是这里面啊，很多人为什么一箭双雕？这里面为什么？因为它有第二个硬盘是习王的钱和资料这一块，在美国的在美国的所有的钱的布局，就是我们之前说过的那叫做什么？记不记得？建筑艺术项目，是不是啊？这个局呢，就是习王在做一个很大的局，这个局很大啊，这个真的就是远超过咱们的想象。这个局真的是要，不仅仅是要把14亿人把联合国真的是要把美国彻底，美国的总统未来的哪个总统，未来多少年以后的多少任总统都是他们的，都是他们说了算。这个45亿美元合同据说就是牵扯到哈萨克斯坦、乌克兰的天然气等等，就是谁呢？就是那个叶简明去做的，叶简明。但叶简明一回去就直接把他就把他抓了，就等于所有布这个局的人的回去就抓了。这是习王他们操作的，这是这一块。还有另外一个是安邦安邦也在出手，在纽约这边布局，完成任务回去照样也抓了所以你就知道这个有多狠为什么把这个弄出来为什么他们手上有？那毫无疑问嘛，那个孟建筑管政法委这个口，他肯定是有的为什么？实际上就是想拿这个东西拿这个东西，其实就是两边要挟江泽孟为什么要把这个硬盘弄出来？说白了，就是这个自保，并且就告诉美国和中共勾兑的人，你看习王都有你们手上的黑材料，意思就是你们对准谁就行了对准习王去。就你们之前跟胡跟江时代的时候，这边对你们都是这真心对你们，从来没有 黑过你们啊，用过什么什么手段来对你们上手段，但是习王可以。大家知道啊，这个矛头就对准了习王，但是这就阴差阳错啊，就到了川普总统手上。当然了，很多人说这个他们有没有川普总统的那个？告诉大家，川普总统肯定没有啊，因为他没有跟中共啊有这个层面的勾兑。有的人说会不会影响啊？因为毕竟是拜登儿子，会不会影响拜登？那这个事情，那就看选民们怎么看了，是吧？但是这个里头对拜登儿子这个事情，那就是另外一回事了，那就是司法的事情了。里面还有包括布伦伯格的事情也全在里面，布伦伯格也在这个硬盘里头都有，还有包括生物武器的这个啊第三个硬盘都在里面。这3个硬盘啊，据说啊到了川普总统手上。
God bless the Republic.
Yes, to the New World Order.
We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The empire is on the run.
And we are on the march, day and night.
Hoorah. Thank you, gentlemen. Guys, we'll be back at 8 o'clock. Meanwhile, BC coming up next. Don't you touch that dial, because we got a lot more live radio on Liberty Tree Radio.
Plant the seed in our homeland, boys. Let it grow where all can see. Feed it with our devotion, boys. Call it the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Save it from the storm, boys. Water down its roots with tea. And the sun will always shine on the old Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the piper, boys. We were born forever free. Let's go pay the piper, boys, beneath the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys. Always pay the tyrant's fee. Never.
Bringing you the sound of the revolution. Thank you for listening to LibertyTreeRadio.4mg.com.
We all